HBCU Digest, welcome back. Thank you for watching and for listening. I'm Jared Carter, your host. Today, our distinguished guest is Terence Calloway. He is the Assistant Vice President of Safety and the Chief of Police at Florida A&M University. And this is a really big conversation to have because for the first time, I think this will provide an in-depth opportunity for me to speak with, one of the many brothers and sisters nationwide who work on HBCU campuses and really consider public safety to be a part of the academic and matriculation mission. So, Chief Calloway, I appreciate having you on today, man.
I thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
You guys had a pretty big announcement this week, a third accreditation for your department at FAMU, and you guys are one of, if not the only, Black college police department to have this series of accreditations. Can you talk about it and what that means in terms of the value and the performance of your department at A&M?
Well, you are correct. We are the only HBCU in the world that has 3 accreditations under their body. But it was, man, it wasn't a smooth ride. I would say that. In May, the assessors came to our department and they tore us to pieces. But our resiliency and the hard work and dedication of the men and women that work for the Florida A&M University Police Department paid off. We didn't take rejection well. We went back to the drawing board to see what we can do, how we can fix our policies, and just numerous things that we can do to make ourselves better. Because at the end of the day, if we are better as a police agency, then we can provide a better service to the FAMU community, which includes our students, faculty, staff, and the community. Having accreditation or having a accreditation to our portfolio is an amazing feat, but to have 3 is something that's never been done before. And with that, what it allows us to do, it allows us to be transparent, to make sure that our community knows that we have their best interests in hand. It allows us to have policies and everyone on the same page and accord of what these policies can do. It eliminates our officers, and myself included, from having these unwanted lawsuits because we're adhering to what's in our policy. And the policies just aren't for us. They've been vetted through national organizations and international organizations. So therefore, we know these policies are things that work because they're working across the country at different universities and colleges. And we are proud to be a part of the CALIA, and state accreditation family.
When you think about, you mentioned the hard work that goes into accreditation. And I think most folks that think about accreditation think about it from an institutional perspective. Do you have enough money? Do you have a plan for students to be enrolled and to graduate? Do you have the right kind of faculty? Do you have the right kind of board and governance structure? Is it like that for police, or what are kind of describe some of the standards that it takes to acquire an accreditation, let alone 3?
Well, it's everything that you just mentioned. First and foremost, man, you have to have a department that's willing to make these sacrifices. But you also need, with us, a leadership of our president, Dr. Larry Robinson, and our vice president of student affairs, who's my boss, Dr. William Hudson. These were things that we spoke about prior to me coming to FAMU or prior to me accepting the job. And these were goals that we wanted to make sure that we can accomplish. So whatever goals that we had set, they've been kind enough to make sure that we had the resources to make these goals go. And we've been very fortunate, man. I mean, we've made some sacrifices in terms of time. We made sacrifices in terms of effort, but you need the backing of the university leadership. But the biggest component for us is the input from our students in our community. We, as the police department, can sit around all day and make policies that's beneficial to us, but we wanted to have some input from our students. So we met with our student government, and we had been meeting with our student government leaders. We've met with our faculty and staff to kind of get some input from them on what they would like to see within our police department. And then we put all of this together, and it worked out tremendously for us. And we're proud to have that. And And here on the highest of 7 hills, it's just amazing at what our students can do and the encouragement that they have for our police department. So we've dubbed all of them as deputies for the FAMU police department. So when they see something, we expect them to say something to us. And that rapport has made things so much better on our campus, man.
Talk about that process. Because if we're being frank, and you and I were students before, we had careers. There's a certain narrative about police, and not only just on a campus, but in the community, right? And I think on a campus is mostly, oh man, they get ready to put a ticket on my car and they're gonna stop me from smoking.
Yeah.
Right. So, but there's an awareness building that when students have faith that when I call, you're gonna come, you're gonna treat me fairly, you're gonna assess situations, and you have my safety in mind. How do you build that trust and that relationship with the student body?
So for me, and with our department, it again, it's putting in that time. When I first arrived on campus, again, I stated prior to me taking this job, or prior to me starting, I should say, I came here and it was hot, and I've never been in Florida for a long period of time, and that heat was something else, man. But I was standing on at the quad, and it was student freshman orientation. There were thousands of parents and students walking about the campus. And I was there about 3.5 hours one day, about 3-4 hours the next day. And I just started reaching out to faculty, anybody who would listen to me. I think they probably thought I was crazy, but I wanted to get an understanding of what is it that you expect from your police department? What is the police department doing that they shouldn't be doing? What should they be doing that they're not doing? And, how is it that we can make your matriculation through this university a safe one? Because let's face it, man, we've done our due diligence in terms of children going to school. We know from an academia aspect what universities will present to our students. But as a parent, your biggest concern is how safe is my child from one building to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And in standing out there for those 7.5, 8 hours for 2 days, I saw one police. And I knew then we had to make some changes. So when I came in, I got the buy-in from the officers. We started exiting our cars, walking through buildings, interacting with these students, having rapports. And then someone said to me one day, "Chief, we see crime is up because our reports is up." I said, "Negative. Our crime isn't up. What is up is the rapport that these officers now have with students, and the students having the faith in the officers to call them." At one point, even when we was in school, I'm probably much older than you, but no one had faith in a campus police per se. Mm-hmm. They wanted to talk to the city police or the county police. So we had to work relentlessly to get our students to understand that we're here for them. And when we established this report and they saw that we was trustworthy, they saw that we were approachable, they started doing more things with us and having more trust in us. And each time we created some program, we had some input from students. And like a prime example for us was we created our own transportation system here at FAM. We no longer was with the city in terms of transportation for our students. We bought our own shuttles, but we met with student government and other students, and we allowed them to get on the bus, and we used their input to generate the stops for the bus. Mm-hmm. And to them, that made all the difference in the world. And I do all of the freshman orientations, speakings with parents and whatever the case might be. And I give every parent and every student my phone number. And most people say that's crazy. But if you live in Maryland and you have a kid going to school in Tallahassee and you get these alerts that says a burglary just took place on our campus, when you're 700 miles away, you only can think the worst. But when you can pick up the phone and call the chief of police and have some reassurance that everything is okay, it makes you feel better as a parent. And that's what we're here for, man.
And you make an excellent point, particularly when people on the outside look at crime statistics. There's a lot of, debate in the federal government about, sexual assault and crime and what, how does the Department of Education manage that? What is the school's responsibility in that? But I think it all starts with the idea of managing not just your campus community, but the periphery of the community and how students are interacting when they walk off the campus. How much pressure or how much obligation, I'm not sure of the right word, but what is the role and responsibility of FAMU's the police department in the surrounding Tallahassee community in terms of students being aware of where to be and how to get there, and in the unfortunate cases of actually dealing with crimes that may happen off campus or crimes that come onto the campus? How do you guys deal with that and try to set a narrative for FAMU is still safe despite what might be going on around us?
So you were correct in the word pressure. You were correct in the word obligation. As a police chief, the pressure is on you, regardless to where you are. If you at North Carolina A&T, you at Spelman, Morehouse, the pressure is still on you because it's your responsibility to make sure that the students that's on your campus is safe and the people that comes on your campus is safe. So I would say, one, it starts with education and training. If we're educating our students about what could happen, we're training them and preparing them for what may happen, that helps tremendously. The other thing is establishing mutual aid agreements with the local police departments. Tallahassee, the city of Tallahassee, I should say, Leon County, Florida State Police, we all work hand in hand to make sure that we're doing things to keep our students safe. We also have adapted what we call a Live Safe app. So students have that opportunity to download this app. They can send stuff to us anonymously. They can, it has like a tracking system on it that they can activate. So we work collectively to try to make sure that these students are safe. So our police department is constantly going into the dorms, speaking to students when we're out engaging with students. On a call the other day, someone talked about community policing. I'm not against community policing. I just use a different word for it. My terminology for it is community involvement. Because on a campus level, I've had the pleasure of working both in the city as a traditional police officer, and I've worked at a university police. The two are different. And, you know, when you're here, you have to engage with the students, find out what they're doing, talk to them. If you're a person that don't want to engage and speak with students, probably shouldn't work on a college campus. But this is about, because we're not running from call to call. So when you go to these calls, you have a little more time to interact. You have a little more time to talk. They get an opportunity to know you. And as a chief of police, it's my responsibility to make sure that students walk out of our university with a degree and not with a criminal record. That becomes very important because when you look at what's taking place in our society today, most people have very little faith and trust in the police. And 99% of the police are actually doing a good job. That 1% speaks volumes for an entire organization. And people talk about the incident that has taken place this year. But no one talks about the officer that risked his life in New York to save a young lady in a pond and he drowned. Like, no one talks about that, but they talk about the negativity of the police. And that's a small fraction of who we are.
Let's talk about the role of public safety and specifically policing as a enrollment management function, because I think that when you're in a metropolitan area or rural, for that fact, when you got a whole bunch of people together, you might have some problems.
Absolutely.
That's just the human condition.
Absolutely.
But do you have to be cognizant of how you kind of administer rules and engage with students, knowing that if you're holding to the letter of the law, they may have broken the law and may get thrown out of school for that? Do you guys have conversations or have ideas about what policing means in terms of the enrollment management situation at FAM?
So a good friend of mine, in speaking, he often said there's a difference between, and I can't say it exactly like him, but he said there's a difference of being the police and the police. And when I heard that, I'm like, what the heck does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on these college campuses, man, you know, your job isn't to take every student to jail. Your job is to make sure that, and we've all been in school and we've all had some learning experiences. And some of those experiences could be detrimental to African Americans in some aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So, some things, when they're felonies, yeah, you don't have as much room to wiggle with the law. But misdemeanors, if someone has 2 joints, on the street as a municipality police, you very well can take them to jail. But at a university setting, we want to send them to judicial affairs, have them have some type of rehabilitation while they're at school. And part of our rehabilitation program is they have to come down here and sit and talk to me for an hour. And most students recognize the mistakes that they've made. And I found when you speak to them as opposed to talking at them, it makes a huge difference. If you treat these students like human beings, it makes a whole bunch. It makes sense. So on so many levels, man. And I think that's where, as administrators, as officers, and I'm very passionate about this, as you can see, I've had students call me who graduated in 2014. Oh, Chief, I'm getting married. Come to I'm not coming all the way to Cincinnati for a wedding. Personally, I can see you, but just the fact that these students still remember you. Mm-hmm. And that says a lot. So it's about getting out, talking to these students, sitting in the cafeteria with them, having some type of lunch. I go to the basketball games, football games. I even ride with the band. I'm probably the only police chief in the history of FAMU that's ever chaperoned a marching 100 somewhere. Mm. And do I have to? No, but I do it, one, man, because we're serious about the safety of what takes place. But it gives me opportunity to interact with these 300-400 students as a part of the band. And I think that's important. And if you think this job is 9 to 5, it's probably not the job for you. Because I'm here at night when the Greeks having something. I'm here when other organizations having something. And that's the role of a police chief on an HBCU campus for sure, because you can relate to what's taking place. You can feel it. You were that person at some point.
Chief Calloway, we appreciate it. Congratulations on the accreditation and all the success that you guys are having and the hard work that you're putting in to keep students, faculty, staff, alumni when they come back safe on campus. We appreciate your time, brother, and look forward to the next one.
All right. Thank you very much. Same to you.